Hi everybody, welcome back to our fourth and last tutorial on how to build a website with Bootstrap from Photoshop. So we're kind of nearly there. I've made a few changes. Today I do just would like to talk you through the media queries and how do we actually get our site to be fully responsive. So if I drag this smaller, then you will see I've made some changes, and it is now actually fully responsive. I haven't worked on all the breakpoints, so at some point there is still a little bit of a iffiness going on, but I have concentrated on our smaller version. Okay, so I'm going to just take you through the steps. So what are media queries? Well, first of all, where do they sit as well? So we normally put them at the bottom of our code. I like to just put a comment in there, and they are obviously to make things responsive. So they are also called CSS breakpoints. So you will change some of your CSS styles so that they work differently on a specific screen size. They always live inside curly brackets. So you will copy some of your styles. I'll show you now. Now you'll copy some of your styles that's sitting at the top, and then you will paste them in curly brackets. So it opens with a curly bracket, and then here at the bottom it closes, and everything kind of sits inside of those curly brackets. All right. Sorry, I'm going to give you vertigo. I've decided to go and work in this case between a min width of 380 pixels and then 720. Bootstrap has got very specific CSS breakpoints, and I think the smallest is 575. You can even go smaller. So I'm going to just take you through some of the things that I have done. So I've just taken the row and the container, its margin and padding off, just to make sure that there isn't any extra margin and padding somewhere in the smallest version, because I need optimal space. I've also taken the Jumbotron. I've taken its margin off. Again, sometimes the Jumbotron has its own margin coming from Bootstrap. The most important, however, is our handshake, which is that large area there at the top. Now, if I go up into my styles, handshake will be right at the top. I never can see to move this thing quick enough. Handshake is there right at the top. Now, what you need to do is you're only going to copy the things that you do want to change, or you can copy everything, but you're going to delete the things that's not going to change. You're not going to keep things that are going to change. So in this case, obviously, the min height is not going to be 110 EM on the smallest version, because this is much smaller. All right, so what I can do, and obviously the margin top as well, what I can do is I can copy that, and then if I go down into my my media queries, there it is already, but I'll just show you. I'm going to copy that, and just remember to close your curly brackets. Okay, so obviously the background image stays. All right. What you need to do is you then need to change your min height, because as I said, the minimum height of handshake is definitely not 110. It is much smaller now. In this case, I have actually left the margin top, because that margin top is actually for my nav. All right. So in this case, all you need to change the min height. Now, what we therefore can do is, remember this amazing thing, you can put a border 1px solid. I'm just going to make it red. I'm just going to put it in there so that you see what we have done. All right, so now, in fact, on the smallest version, we are stating that it is much smaller. The minimum height is 300 pixels. Okay, so that's one of the most important things that you must do, because obviously, again, look at what you look what you've done up top for this specific section, and then you need to change it. Now, again, in this specific section on the very large view, I've got this massive H1. So obviously, I need to change my H1. Again, be semantically correct and use the correct CSS. So if there's an H1 with a headline handshake, what does it look like? Now, again, I can actually take this out because it doesn't change, the font doesn't change. Okay, so remember, even if you take out, one line or two lines, at the end it will actually make a difference into the actual size that this CSS will be. Font weight is 300. I think it was a little bit larger. Let me just go to, I think it was a little bit larger. I'm just going to make my window a bit smaller so we can see everything. So again, if I go and look at my my headline there, no, the font weight was 300. But again, the font size is definitely much smaller. So again, it's fairly logical for me. I don't know, maybe it's not logical for other people, but obviously the size needs to go a lot smaller. Sometimes you can also work on the margin. You might not need such a big margin, in a smaller version. So font weight didn't change, so I can take that down. I don't have to put anything in there that isn't there. So now what I can do is I can say, okay, so maybe in this case, the margin top goes to 1em. And guys, it is actually rem, but that's a conversation for another day. Okay. So you are just minimizing it. The P lead also needs to change. So obviously on our very large version, it is very big. And now on the smaller version, we need to change the actual size. So again, you're going to copy what's up top. Okay, you're going to copy what is up top, and you are going to here at the bottom, you are going to paste it. Okay, so again, what we're looking at is we're looking at the massive change in size because 3.2 em is very big, and we nothing else. All right, so you can actually take out anything that doesn't belong there. You can take out the margin bottom. You see it was 2em. I have now minimized it to 1.5em. I can also do that even less. I can do it 1.2em. Just going to take that down or take it out, and that's what you're going to have. So if I just refresh, then my little button changes there as well. Okay, it goes a little bit higher. So the Lux BTN main is that little button. So again, obviously we need to change this here. All right. So if we go on the big screen, yeah, it's really nice and big, but it actually goes smaller there. And obviously, again, remember the size of a button actually has got to do with the font size that sits in it. All right. So again, we're going to go up top. We're going to look what did we do for that button? Am I too high? Yeah. So again, what you want to do is you want to copy everything that you've done for that button. Remember, it's first link, then it is visited, and then you are going to bring it here at the bottom. And again, things that you might want to change is the background color. Background color stays the same. In fact, we don't really have to have the background color there. The padding now goes less, but the most important thing, guys, again, as I said, the font size changed. So it was 1.8. We're now changing it to 1.2. All right. If we wanted a margin top, then we can change that as well. But again, the padding was 1em. It's now just 0.5. Let's just do that correctly. It is now 5em. Okay, so understood. So whatever you need to change from your normal style, you're going to copy it and you're going to paste it, and you're going to take out what is that's not changing. So you only actually leave what is actual changing. All right. So The hover actually doesn't change, so we probably don't even have to have the hover in here. So if I cut it and I save, it's exactly the same. All right, I've changed my padding. Just do that. Just back. All right. Okay. So I don't have to have the hover there because the hover is not the hover characteristic of the CSS is only the background, and that doesn't actually change. So it's got nothing to do. So don't really have to put it in my media queries. Then the next is my H2 main headline, which is this one. And again, the font doesn't change, so I actually don't have to do that. The font weight doesn't change. I don't have to put that in there as well. The font size is now 4.2 em. So again, it was massive, but it's not that massive anymore. And again, I don't have to put the color there. It doesn't change. So you literally don't worry about the horizontal cards. You can take that out. It was just me playing. But only the things that actually do change. Text center also doesn't actually even belong there because it was text center from the beginning. So again, you only want to copy the things that is going to change and then make your amendments. Okay, so here comes the big thing. Here comes the biggest change that I have made, and that is in testimonials. And the card group, and also I think it's in testimonials. Okay, so the next is your cards. Now your cards actually, they are quite automatic and responsive. That's the way that Bootstrap does it. All right, so they were call medium 4. We didn't say anything else. Sorry, they sit in a row, and call medium 4, sorry, is your little your little image, and call medium 8 is your actual card body. By the way, maybe I don't know if I've made these changes, but I've made an MX auto just to make sure that they are actually in the middle. From a content point of view, they are centered. Okay. So just so that you know, if it wasn't in yours. So they are fully responsive. What you can do is you can make them smaller. So that's why I put the Horus cards in there. You can make them smaller, so you can actually say that Horus cards, the width is 80%. So what we can do therefore is, if we go into our media queries, I can now go and say I've got a class of Horus cards, and in fact their width is now 80%. And just so that you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to put a border there. Border 1, oh my goodness, can't, 1px solid red. Okay. All right, so now do you see that I've actually made them smaller by controlling them with the horizontal cards? Okay, so they don't necessarily sit in the center, which is a problem, but we can actually we can fix that. I'm actually just going to use this very easily. Let's just do a margin 0 auto. Let's see if that's gonna fix it. All right, okay. Margin 0 auto will fix the content. So what have I done now? So I've made it a little bit smaller because I didn't like the fact that they are so large. I didn't really like it. So what I did was I created a section for the Horus cards, you see there. All right, and I'm now styling that section, but I'm only styling it for the smaller version. I'm happy with the size of the larger version, really happy with that, not a problem. And so nothing changes on the last version. Nothing. You also can't see the red line because it's not there. It is only affected when it's that small. Then with the other thing that we can do as well for Horace cards is we can actually say that we want a margin of say 0.5 rem. Okay. Oh no, what we can't. We can't because we've got margin 0 auto. That's stupid, Anka. Let's do not that padding is really going to make any difference. Padding's not going to make a difference. No. Okay, so we want some space. We want some space between the two. So what we can do, I'll have to think about that. I'll have to think about that. Also, we have already given it a margin inside of our um, HTML, but we can probably give the card a margin. But anyway, let's leave that for now. Then the next section is our range. So similar to that, our range belongs to a card group. So now I am actually going to make some changes to the card group. Also, by the way, I've added a Justify Content Center class to make sure that my content is actually centered. Which I might not have last time, and I've also added a margin 1. So the class margin 1 means it's a margin all around, and the reason for that is so that they are really nice and separate. Okay, just see on the half measure, this looks a bit crap, so we have to actually do some changes here. We can make some changes on the card group if we want to for the smaller for a smaller version screen size. Just remember that if you, not for this one particular, but for the in-between one. So in this case, again, what I've done for the card group, I've also said that my width is 80%. So on a smaller version, if I didn't take that out, so let's just cut that, let's just save, and then you'll see that it is just massive size, which I really didn't like. So again, what I've done is I have made the card group slightly smaller as well, so that it's just not so in your face. It just seems very, very big. And again, I have centered that with margin 0 auto, and I've used the Justify Content Center, which means that my content will stay center. So the biggest thing about media queries, guys, is normally your fonts. So your fonts are the ones that, especially in Bootstrap, your fonts are the ones that actually need to change. So your headlines will change. This carousel caption I've changed, and I'll explain that to you in a bit. And margins and things have changed. So if you use margins to kind of like move objects away from each other, then you just have to minimize them in your mobile version. All right. So there's my T-Blogger. I haven't changed my T-Blogger's review text. So let's just go and look at that. I'll do that with you. So my T-Blogger is a H3 and it's a sub headline 2. So here in my, I am just going to, so just going to do it if I have a sub headline 2. All right. All I know it is actually the font size, and I cannot spell. All right. So let's do 1.8, and let's see what that's going to look like. I'm just doing it off the cuff, so that's way too small. So we'll just do a 2.8. All right, and let's see. Okay, much better. So again, just remember that you're actually designing for mobile. So um, if you haven't done a style guide, and you haven't really said these things in stone, then design here. Design while you code. I'm not the kind of person that says that, everything is either done in Figma or it's done, in XD, and that's the way it is, and you've done a style guide, and that's no, actually, I believe that you look at the mobile, it is mobile first, you look at the mobile and you actually make some adjustments here as well. All right, so for me that works. In fact, the body copy also looks a little bit large, so what I will do is I will actually go up, and because what we've done is we've said that the font size is 62.5. That's fine. All right, and then we created a body text. So what I will probably do is I will copy this body text, and I will also make the body text a little bit smaller for my mobile. Okay, so I'm actually going to put it there at the top, and I'm now going to say that I want that at 1.4. Again, I don't need the color, that doesn't change, so I'll just say save. All right, yes, much better. Okay, so again, what you view inside of the mobile version, let whatever you see be your guide to whether it works or whether it doesn't work. All right. Okay, so headline one we've changed. We've made it much smaller. We also played a little bit with our margin. The P lead we changed. The link wasn't really necessary, but we changed obviously the font size and the margins there. And then we played a little bit with oh yes, testimonials I've also made 80%. So just remember, if I've taken that out and I just go save, then again, it is very much side by side. But now if I want to make this a little bit slightly smaller, then I can just say, I'm just going to bring that back. I've made it 80%. Why am I doing that? Well, first of all, I know that it sits in a row. Okay. So in fact, I can actually take that out. It sits in a row. So a row and a container, sorry, a container in this case is from side to side. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so there is my little, there's my little col medium. Remember that if I do col 12, you're not necessarily going to see anything because I actually styled it, making it 80%. Okay. Also, sometimes people say that you've got to start with your smaller one and then with your larger one, but yeah, doesn't to me. Yeah, I just not really worried about that all the time. Okay, so the next is my carousel. By the way, I've changed it from in the previous version, I changed it from a container to a container fluid. So now it sits from side to side. So if we just view it, I changed it from side to side. All right. It is a little bit big, but yeah, I just thought I'm just gonna see what that looks like. All right. So I've taken something out, guys. So in the previous version, you might have seen that there's an extra class in here, and it says actually, I think it's in the caption, and it would say D none, which actually means that the caption in the smallest version doesn't show up. And I didn't want that. I wanted my captions to actually show up in my smaller version. All right, so if you go over it, you'll see that there is still a caption in there. So just make sure on your version, the carousel caption normally in Bootstrap has a D none there. Let me open Bootstrap so you see what I'm talking about. Let's just go to Get Bootstrap, and we're going to go to documentation, and we're going to go to components, and then we're going to go to carousel. And if we go down to caption, you will see that D none. All right. And what that means is, as I said, in a smaller version, you will not see the captions. But I didn't want that. I wanted to see my captions. So therefore, I took it out. Okay. So I deleted that class. So just be wary about that. That's what I did there. As I said, because I wanted that to be in there. What I've also done in my smaller version, obviously, again, I've played a little bit with the placement of that caption. So I've worked a little bit on the percentage of where it sits to the right, from the bottom, where is it. So again, remember, you can always change whatever happens in Bootstrap. You can, all the CSS there, you can copy and paste, you can change it, you can place it into your smaller version media queries, and you can amend it. All right. So just so that it works for the smaller version. And then obviously, if we look at our footer, our footer obviously now has changed with the same, because it's the same age, so it's changed very nicely, and also our text has gone a bit smaller. So now I want to change the size of my social media icon, so that I left, so we can do it together. So again, same story. Whatever is done up top, I need to copy it and I need to place it. All right. So the most important thing is I know that it's the size. So again, I'm going to copy everything. All right, so the A link of Fab, FA Facebook. Remember last time I said make sure that you use the right CDN, because otherwise sometimes you will have your favicons will not actually show up. All right, so I'm going to copy that entire piece and I'm going to put it in here. And now we can say that the font size is, for instance, let's make it 2.8, and maybe the padding is now 2. Okay, again, I don't need the color. The color is going to stay stable. So yeah. So, and if we now go and refresh, they are much smaller in relation to the rest of the actual design. All right, so media queries is not actually that complicated. I think it's sometimes more a case of people don't really understand why they're doing certain things. Again, it's very much trial and error, I find. And as I said, I didn't do a mid breakpoint. This is just a smaller breakpoint. You can do then say a minimum with 500, something up to a max of 900. So you can decide where you want your breakpoints to be, but I would always start at my smallest version and make sure that it actually works up. You don't need more than 3, guys. You normally have, as I said, a breakpoint. I like to check where the breakpoint is of where my toggler starts, and then I know I've got to look at the layout of that. So for instance, here we can say that connect with us doesn't really work, and that drops down, so that's a bit iffy. So for the I would say for an iPad landscape, we need another class. All right, so this doesn't work. This needs to be in 2 columns, etc., etc. This is not responsive 100%. But as a start, I hope you understand a little bit more about media queries and how you can actually play with the styling of your content so that it fits the design in this smaller device. And that's it. Media online screen, you don't even have to put that in that anymore, but you've got to choose a min and a max width. So if the min width is 380 up to a max width of 720, what does it look like? So in between those two, what will my design look like? All right, copy and paste whatever was your normal style. Paste it below, always inside of the little curly brackets, and change what needs to be changed. Leave out everything else. If it doesn't change, it doesn't have to be there, because in fact, every little piece does make a difference in the end. Okay, and yeah, and as I said, I changed the transparency a little bit because I really didn't like it to be so light. But yeah, I think I could probably change it back a little bit, and then that will probably be the last that we'll do. So that is my nav. So I'm just going to go up into my nav. I think I've made it 0.9. So let's just do a 0.8, maybe 0.75. All right. Yeah, that's a little bit better. I see a little bit of the shiny piece coming through. Okay, let's just do that. Yeah, little piece of the shiny through. I like that. I can also move, by the way, now that I see it, I can also move my handshake area down a little bit. And let's just do a padding top for home. Let's do that. Let's just change that a little bit more. I'm going to do 8. Let's just do, um, yeah, so I didn't use an image at the end. It became too heavy. Let's look at our media queries here at the bottom. Did we do anything for home? Did we do anything for home? No. Just gonna save that. Just want to see what it looks like on the bigger version. Yeah, it has moved down. It has moved down considerably. Um, yeah, better. Maybe 8 is too much. Let me do it 6. Let's just see. Refresh. Yeah, that's fine. That looks much better that it sits underneath it. I like that. I like that much more. We can, in fact, maybe probably make it 5.7. 5.7. Let's just, oopsie. Um, let's just see that. Yeah, that touches really nicely. So I've just playing with the padding top so that it aligns really nicely with my nav bar. Okay. All right. So yeah, so that's basically the last thing that I wanted to do. And again, we can always look at our jump to links. Do they actually work? Make sure that they do actually work. Contact us should jump to the bottom. So maybe let's just fix that. Really didn't want to do that, but anyway. So I'm just going to go back into my HTML. I'm just going to look at where is my content section. So my contact section is here at the bottom. So what we need to do is we need to put an A name there. So a name, and we're just going to call it contact. And we're just going to close our A. Remember, it's an anchor tag. So, and if we now refresh, then it should jump there. All right. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you could follow all the little tricks that I showed you, and that you that you don't not so scared about media queries. Okay, that's it for now, and I hope you enjoyed it. See you soon. Thank you. Bye.